What is good? We're back. Today, we're going to be looking at the QB landscape across the NFL, openings that might need a QB, free agents that might fill those openings, as well as we might see where some of these rookies might land. Just kind of a macro overview of the QB landscape and what it could look like in 2025. Maybe some bold predictions in there. Today, I'm joined by the guys from Two Guys, One Pod. We got Chev. You guys have seen and heard his sultry voice on here before. What's up, Chev? How you doing?
Man, I tell you what, any day on this side of the dirt's a good one. If I were any better, I would be twins.
Well, his twin is Rick. You can't see him, but Rick, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Good to be here. Happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're excited to have you guys, and I think this will be a fun exercise. Then on the second half of the show, we're going to take more of a dynasty cost-specific look at some of these QBs. You know, some of them are going to be on the move to different landing spots, and obviously we don't know what that is, but then we're going to kind of look at a buy, sell, hold, if we would acquire, if we would sell them. So first half, we're going to take the general overview. Second half, we'll give you some prices of what we may pay to either buy or sell those players. So we got a lot of openings currently, right? The Giants, we have Tennessee, we have Vegas, potentially Cleveland, we don't know. Pittsburgh, we don't know. New York Jets seem like they could be open. We have Minnesota that we're not really sure exactly how that quarterback room is going to play out. And then we have, some wild cards that we may get to here, like Indianapolis could potentially be somewhere that needs a quarterback. I mean, the Niners, a lot of people talking crazy about what could be going on in San Francisco. Indy, right? Seattle, some questions here and there. The Rams, some questions popping up here and there. So I want to start in Minnesota. Sam Darnold, you think he's staying? You think he's going? Is it the JJ McCarthy show? Is Daniel Jones gonna get a shot here? Chev, why don't you lead us off and give us your perspective on how we think the quarterback shuffle is going to land in Minnesota?
So this is super interesting for me because of the fact that around week 10, we thought, oh, yeah, they're going to 100%. They're going to figure out a way to get Sam Darnold back in Minnesota. And then the last 2 weeks of the season, they scored 9 points per game. And Sam Darnold got sacked 11 times and turned the ball over 3 times. And they got blasted it upside down on both occasions. So now it leads you to the question, like, are they going to go with JJ McCarthy? Are they going to go with Daniel Jones? I just threw up in my mouth a little bit while I said that. But I don't know. How could you honestly spend the 9th overall pick on a quarterback and then justify paying a guy, even if he did win 14 games, how can you justify paying him a bunch of money that he's going to command on the open market, even if it didn't end well? I mean, it's a guy who threw for 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns in 2024. Like, how can you walk away from that? But also, you spent the 9th overall pick on a guy. Like, are you trying to go the Packers path to get this done? Like, what does that look like? So I would absolutely love to see them just move on and go to JJ McCarthy to see what you got. Because my caveat to bringing him back was like, hey, you got to win a playoff game. If you don't win a playoff game, then just re-roll with JJ McCarthy. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with Minnesota.
What do you think, Rick? How you feeling? There was a snicker over there.
You have to know what sides of the fence we were on preseason to understand the snicker. I was a big Sam Darnold believer. I think that he was drafted so young to such terrible offenses in the first 2 that he went to that the league made up their mind about Sam Darnold before he got somewhere where it mattered. And hey, you give somebody Adam Gase, you give Joe Brady to a team that doesn't have Josh Allen, those teams suck. Like, I'm sorry, you take Peyton Manning away from Adam Gase and he's terrible. So maybe let's withhold judgment about what Sam Darnold is or what he could be later. Like, let's look at this season as a microcosm. 2 things can be true. To Justin's point, he's like, what do you do? Do you act like you burned the 9th overall pick? Or do you actually try to extend this guy that won you 14 games? You can say Kevin O'Connell's a quarterback whisperer, which he is. You can say it's the offense. You can say it's Jefferson and Addison and TJ Hawkinson et al., which they did not hurt him by any means. However, Joes don't come in here and throw for 4,335. Joes don't come in here and throw for 6.4% TD percentage. Joes don't come in here and do that, especially given the history that Sam Darnold has had. You are hoping, beyond hope, that JJ McCarthy can come in and do what Sam Darnold did last year. Okay. It's not like it blows my mind that Kevin O'Connell comes out and says something like he's earned the right to test free agency. No, you idiot. He's earned the right to be your starting quarterback. Like, it's not like Jordan Love. I don't think anybody would argue is a bad pick in the first round. Like, it's not a bad thing to let good quarterbacks, good young quarterbacks sit behind really good young quarterbacks. And, if that's a 3-year deal for Sam Darnold, that's kind of what I think he's going to command coming on the open market, whether it's with the Vikings or with a new team. If he plays 2 of that and then it's, kind of the end, it's a sign and trade, whatever it looks like. I don't see that like they're lighting that pick on fire. I see that as the Vikings actually being a smart-ish franchise. I don't know why having depth at the most important position, on the NFL field is seen as a detriment to your team. So what I think should and is going to happen are 2 totally different things. I think the Vikings should re-sign this dude yesterday or whenever he's available to be re-signed, whenever that period opens or closes. I don't know. The free agency period is weird. What's tampering? What's legal tampering? What isn't legal tampering? Whatever. What I think is going to happen is he's going to get a longer deal with more money from a different franchise that doesn't have the next dude up of Kevin McCarthy. And I think this offense will suffer for it.
Yeah, I'm much more on Rick's side here of saying, I don't know how you let this guy get out of the building. Like, you got a guy who you didn't even get to see for half the year because he was rehabbing an injury. Like, it'd be one thing if he was all up in practice all year long and you were like, damn, this guy's so good, I can't believe we're keeping him off the field. Now they're saying all the things that, hey, he looks good, he's ready to go, yada yada yada. But I'm like, man, I don't know how you look the rest of the locker room in the face and go, yeah, we're just going to let that guy out the door. Because I agree with all the things that you said, Rick. Like, even if it's just a franchise tag, just to make sure that you might have to pay him a little extra money or whatever, but like, just to make sure that you got this thing covered and surrounded. Because if you let him walk out the door and JJ ain't it, boy, oh boy, is that look real bad. So, Chev, what's your take on that? Because you seem like you're just get rid of him.
So obviously, we're talking about paying him in the neighborhood of $40-45 million a year. That's what he's going to command. At worst case, he's going to get what Baker got, which was 3 years, $100 million. And my point here is, cool, if you can lock him up 2 for $80 million, 2 for $90 million, do that. But at the end of this, you're still going to have the question, hey, can this, if this guy doesn't win playoff games, which is what you're trying, that you're a playoff team, you were going to be a playoff team with Kirk Cousins last year. We need the guy that's going to move the needle. The reason you didn't bring Kirk Cousins back is because he didn't move the needle. So if you don't believe Kirk Cousins was that guy, you've paid him an exorbitant amount of money. You're doubling down on that same philosophy, just in a different, you just reskin the same thing. So if you're going to suck, figure out if your 9th overall pick is going to suck, and then deal with that. So the Chargers are famously inept as a franchise, but they did this same thing. They let Drew Brees walk. They brought in, they went with Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers goes and leads them in all-time touchdown passes. It could work out in a manner in which you
couldn't win a playoff game, though.
They did. They made the AFC Championship.
Yeah, nobody cares about how many AFC championships you went to. Drew Brees went to a Super Bowl and won it.
Phillip Rivers rolled over from on top of his wife with a torn ACL, and then came out and got them to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, all
right. It's a little revisionist history to say they just kicked Kirk Cousins to the curb. Like, at the point they said, "Hey, we're gonna not resign you," he had one ankle hanging on by a thread. Like, it's not like they had full. Whoa. He was injured whenever he was taken on by the Falcons. He couldn't pass a physical, so they were saying, we don't want to bet our next 4 years on you, and an injury that historically people do not come back from. So that's not a bad bet. And that's not indicative of what they believe about the quarterback position or even Kirk Cousins. So let's move forward into what we're talking about now, which is not Kirk Cousins. And we're back to this is basically we're looking at like they should try to be the Packers. There's a reason the Packers are perennially good, and it's because they're the best team in the NFL at handling the quarterback position. Be more like the Packers. Be less like the rest of the NFL.
Yeah, I like it. All right, so where if not Minnesota, Rick, where would be the landing spot you would want Sam Darnold to sign up for?
Listen. I made 2 bets last offseason on new head coaches. One was on Dave Canales in Carolina. The second half of the season, it looked like that was a good bet. My second bet was on Callahan in Tennessee. I think he's a really good offensive mind. I think that he just didn't have the guys under center that he needed. So my ideal landing spot would be for Darnold to go to Callahan in Tennessee and be able to utilize the weapons of Chigakonkwo, of Calvin Ridley, of maybe possibly, I don't know, a healthy Treylon Burks, Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears in the passing game. Like, you have weapons there. You need a guy who, with a little bit of coaching, and now he's had a full year with a quarterback whisperer, and then a year before that with a different quarterback whisperer that I think should level him up to at least above league average. Above league average with that offense should be very good for fantasy. And that's honestly all I care about at the end of the day.
Yeah. All right. So if I'm Sam, there's no way I'm going there with my career as I need this next step to go well for me, because the Titans mishandle a lot of things, and the offensive line is a big question mark. So I'm gonna kick it over to the all ball knower, or legendary ball knower himself, who has got a Corey Davis Jr. hanging in the background, who they did my man dirty. Couldn't get that right either. So do you think Sam Darnold on the Titans, or where's the landing spot for you?
I would go with the New York Giants.
Whoa. What?
I would go with the New York Giants. Listen, this is a franchise. This is a guy in Mike Daboll and Mike Kafka. They got just an acceptable season out of Daniel Jones. He was able to bust drive that deal into like the playoffs. Yeah, turn around, hand it to Saquon Barkley. You throw play action once or twice a game. Now they've got $100 million left tackle. They're probably, if they sign Sam Darnold, I'm pretty sure that they're going to take a tackle, probably Will Campbell, in the top 3. And then Will Campbell, Ariante Ursery, Jack Connerly, one of those guys is going to address the right tackle position that they missed on with Evan Neal. And so you keep Sam Darnold upright. You give him Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors immediately becomes a top 2 dynasty receiver, in my opinion, with Sam Darnold. And you give him guys that are competent play callers. You said just above league average. I think he could be that with a guy like Brian Daboll, who clearly the Giants don't think he's a complete moron, even though their front office, we don't have to talk about what's going on with their front office. Like that guy has just been comically memed into oblivion based on like some of the things that he let be recorded and released to the public. That's his own fault. Nobody's fault but his. But anyway, let's get back on task. I would love to see him go to the Giants, throw to Malik Neighbors. You've got $100 million left tackle. You've got a running game with Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary, who Rick loves. And you address the right tackle position because you don't have to address the quarterback position immediately anymore. I think that's an environment that's set up for success. And they've got Theo Johnson. You know, they're going to have, Darius Slayton's a free agent, but you got Jalen Hyatt, you got Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah.
You got pieces for him to succeed. So that would be, for me, the place where I would love to see him. I would love to see him go, and I think he could flourish.
That is insane to me. First off, his flame out in New York before. I know it's a different team. It's still New York.
I agree. No way I'm touching that New York media again if I'm him.
Exactly. You say one thing. And that is all you're going to be known for in that town for the rest of your life. He might never live that down.
He already said it. He's seeing ghosts.
Exactly. I'm saying if it's going to take exactly one thing said incorrectly. So if we're talking about like actual NFL viability, and also the end of that argument was the Giants have been one of the worst run front franchises in the NFL for the last, since 2 years before Eli Manning retired. It's laughable. Like the Browns have been a better franchise than the Giants. So that's what
the Giants are on. I mean, the Titans are on their 4th GM in 9 years.
Yeah, that argument was entirely for that argument was entirely for fantasy production for Sam Darnold. But
you think it's bad for him to have Malik Neighbors and Tyrone Tracy? Yeah, that's terrible.
First off, the statistical loyalty of teams to any running back drafted in the 5th round or later is so low. I don't expect Tyrone Tracy to make the team in 2 years, so I don't care about Tyrone Tracy. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Secondly,
so Devin Singletary,
Devin Singletary. No. That's the thing is Tyrone Tracy is better than Devin Singletary. To my chagrin, I love Devin Singletary, but to my chagrin, Tyrone Tracy is better. But still, they can get out of that contract after this year. Is that not right?
Good for fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
If he has the workload of a backfield, then yes.
Yeah,
but he's not going to.
So
because of Tyrone
Tracy, good for fantasy.
No, Tyrone Tracy will be good for fantasy for himself if he gets the opportunity. I'm saying loyalty past their rookie contracts, which for 5th rounders is after this season, correct?
No, it's 4 years. We would be on year 2.
Okay, how long did James Robinson last with the Jaguars? Was it 2 years?
Because of an Achilles injury.
2 years. Okay, cool. So 2 years. 2 years from a more productive running back that handled a higher workload. 2 years. That's what he lasted on his team.
Because of an Achilles injury, bud.
Okay, just 2 years. So I'm just saying teams don't have loyalty anymore. Not anymore, but to running backs. I mean, Phillip Lindsay, 1,000-yard season, undrafted free agent. Now he was with the team 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah, he played out his rookie contract.
I would say too many holes in the Giants for them to be worried about a running back. If they want to take one later again, they certainly can, and we could see what's going on in 2 years from there. But I would.
All that was all just to say that I think the Giants are an inept franchise at this point, and trusting them to make the right decision is incorrect process of thought.
He asked for my landing spot, and that's my landing spot.
Okay, so that was just my argument against it. I understand what you said. If we're talking about like actual football, I think the Raiders are probably the best landing spot. I think Pete Carroll is going to be the least fun thing for fantasy, but I think that he is much like I see that hire very similar to the Mike Vrabel hire in New England, but Pete Carroll actually has more weapons. Like you have Jacoby Myers. He's not a 1, but he's probably the best wide receiver 2 in the NFL.
Great 2.
I love Jacoby Myers. I think that having Brock Bowers as the number 1 receiving option in that offense takes pressure off of Jacoby Myers, and having 2 pass catching options, you can piece together your running back room like they did this season into something that resembles a competitive roster. So I think that as far as real life football goes, I think that getting with Pete Carroll, who has taken young quarterbacks with no experience to competence, and in that situation, I think that's your most likely path to actual NFL success.
All right. So who's the Sam Darnold escape hatch that, so you like, let's say, do the Browns think that they're going to draft a quarterback, or the Giants? You already said the Giants, but like, obviously we're not going to, like, free agency happens before the NFL draft. So like, is it going to be, you think the Raiders is the most likely team to be like, hey, we can't get a quarterback, let's get Sam Darnold? Because I think if nothing else changes, like, I think I would like them on the Browns. I like their whole setup of what's going on if we can get that old line back to being healthy. But who would be, hey, we're the team that maybe doesn't think we're going to get a quarterback or doesn't like the quarterback. Is there an escape hatch Sam Darnold team for those top couple of teams? You said Giants. Rick, is it Browns, or you think the Raiders would be the most logical team who's in a position to draft a quarterback potentially?
I could see the Raiders taking either a much older quarterback or a quarterback or a quarterback in the draft because what Pete Carroll is really good at is minimizing mistakes.
Yeah.
What we're going to do is we're going to take chances when we have to take chances, but we're going to keep the ball on the ground. We're going to play really good defense. We're going to play the most uninspiring football you've ever seen, and we're going to win, 9 games most seasons. I could see them making the change to either staying with AOC and really trying to build up the defense, or getting a new face in there at the running back room, or trying to draft this isn't really the draft for it, but trying to bolster your wide receiver room. I think that Pete Carroll is a guy that can kind of do more with less. So I don't think they need Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold on the Browns is really interesting. And I think that, I mean, what happens with Jameis? Because I think Jameis has that locker room if he comes back to the team. So you can't have him as a backup.
For sure.
So, and I love Jameis. So,
for fantasy wise, I love Jameis, but I think what he is from a winning perspective for a team. Like it's not going to convert to a great winning season, I don't think, from Jameis.
Well, the only argument that I have against that is that's what I feel like 99% of people would have said about Sam Darnold. Even
I just think people thought Sam Darnold couldn't play.
Yeah, couldn't play, couldn't run an offense, couldn't do anything. I don't know. I don't. Yeah. But till what? When did people start believing this season?
Oh, it took a while, and then that was 6 or 7, and then by the end of it, they were back out, and that's just kind of how it goes. But that's a good segue into Justin Fields, because I feel like people were very in or very out, and then he got a chance, and that group got loud again, and then they pulled him out. So let's move on to Justin Fields here. Chev, you think he's staying in Pittsburgh? Where's he going?
So this was the guy I had going to the Raiders. I mean, I've been in love with Justin Fields. It's unhealthy. I was apologizing for his lack of pocket presence, his inability to decide to throw the ball on time, throwing with anticipation, all of the red flags. I just ignored him because I was like, listen, this is the guy. He's going to be really good. And, he was set up to fail in Chicago. And then he came out and they minimized, much like Rick said, with what Pete Carroll does. Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin minimized his impact on the game. They were going to just run the ball and play defense. They won 2 games without scoring an offensive touchdown while he was starting. So I think if he goes out to the Raiders, it's going to be a different brand of ball because they hired Chip Kelly as the offensive coordinator. And I mean, we're going back and looking at what Chip Kelly did in Philadelphia and then that one season in San Francisco, and with mobile quarterbacks in Mike Vick and Colin Kaepernick. And I think that could be a hand in glove fit for the way that he's run offense in the NFL. It's up tempo. It's fast. It's, hey, let's get to the line of scrimmage. Let's run a play every 24 seconds or whatever it was. So I think that's the ideal landing spot for him, in my opinion, based on what I've seen from the way that Chip Kelly has run his offense at the NFL level.
Yeah. All right. How about you, Rick?
I like Justin Fields staying in Pittsburgh. Honestly, I want Russell Wilson out of there. It was a question whenever Russell Wilson was actually healthy, whether he would start or not. Because Justin Fields, I think he had one game right before Russ came in where he played a little bit subpar, but I can't remember the actual stats of that game. Justin, you remember off your top of your head?
That was a Dallas game where they just played piss poor, and that was a very winnable game, and they lost at the buzzer. So I think I don't know off the top of my head. I'm looking that up right now, but it wasn't very good. Yeah,
we talked about it the week that it happened, and it was like, damn, Justin is going to lose his job, and it wasn't his fault. Like, this was a team loss. This wasn't on Justin. I think Justin Fields at this point in his career, we know what he is. He is capable of doing some of the most dynamic things on a football field that any quarterback is capable of. He's also capable of single-handedly losing you the game. Like a little bit Jameis Winston, just in a different way of doing it.
Yeah.
But when it's good, it's really, really good.
Yeah.
And with Arthur Smith and with Mike Tomlin to kind of keep him pointed in the right direction, I like that, not only for him, as for him to be successful and more successful in the NFL. I don't think that another year in Pittsburgh hurts his growth as a quarterback. I think it helps his decision making. So I like him staying in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think you guys touched on it earlier and I think, Rick, you made a good point. What does Pete Carroll do well? Minimize mistakes. Let's get Justin Fields and let's get Pete Carroll together on the Raiders and go out there and hey, we can. He's either a bridge or he's the answer. And we might not be able to do what we need to do, but we don't have to do anything crazy at 7. We don't have to trade up. We don't have to do anything. If somebody comes to us, that's great. We get them. Or if we make a little trade, great. But if not, we have Justin Fields. I can go out there. I can minimize mistakes. We're running a new offense. We're not going to spread it out, and we're not going to throw it as much. as we have, and the head coach is, like you said, maybe could minimize some mistakes and some bonehead stuff from Justin Fields.
I definitely like that. Yeah, it's the same-ish situation, just different coasts. Like
right.
I fully agree with that. Yeah, and what's Justin Fields going to cost the Raiders?
Exactly.
Is it $25 million? How much is that? Is even guaranteed money? Okay. I tried to give like the high end. What do you think? Is
10 million.
10 million. I think it's
Dalton just signed 2 for 18. So I would assume it's somewhere between like 18 and 28, probably.
But if he's the first person signed to that room, you would think that would come with like quote unquote starter money.
No,
and that's I don't know. If he's going in to compete against AOC, he beats AOC. Like I don't.
What did they? They did 2 for 15 for Gardner, if I'm not mistaken. So
he's better than Gardner, like verifiably.
Yes. He may be better than those guys, but he's on his third team in almost 3 years.
Well, how many teams has Gardner been on the last 5 years?
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying, like, I think you give him a 1-year deal, and it's similar to kind of what the Vikings just gave Sam Darnold, 10, 12, 15 million, maybe with some incentives, and then we take it from there.
That's that I would imagine it would be probably 10 to 12 guaranteed, but the contract would be, I think it would be north of 20 in my opinion. But even then, that's pennies. That's chump change for the quarterback position in this day and age.
All right, let's move on to Aaron Rodgers. Rick, you want to kick this one off for us? Where is Aaron Rodgers going to find himself in 2000 or 2025? Is that where we're at right now?
Hopefully smoking ayahuasca on his couch. I don't want to watch Aaron Rodgers in the NFL anymore. Like, can we tear his other Achilles? I'm done with this show. We got cayenne pepper in the water now, and now we're good at football. No, like, hey, I'm super glad that you were super good for football for however long you were good at it for. Can you please stop? Like, it wasn't good with the Jets, and you had your guys. You had Devontae Adams and you had Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's a stud. He's not the stud we thought he would be, but he's a stud. And he did his thing. He was efficient as a touchdown passer, but the yards wasn't there. The wins weren't there. I have no destination for Aaron Rodgers because anywhere that he goes, I would see him as a bridge to next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think just age-wise, you probably got to look at it that way. Chev, what are you thinking?
I'm going to go. I mean, because he's used to playing in cold weather, I think that if the Cleveland Browns don't take Shedeur or Cam Ward at 2, I think that's where he goes. Yeah. You get him with, I mean, you've seen older quarterbacks have success. You saw Jameis before Jameis uncovered the full Jameis. It looked real good from a fantasy perspective. And we're talking about a guy who, I mean, this go home and sit on your couch season that we're talking about here was 3,828 with 11 interceptions. Let's talk about Trevor Lawrence. His best season is 4,025. So, like, we're talking about him from a fantasy perspective, and I think he could go and light it up with Cedric Tillman, your boy, Cedric Tillman. Jerry Jeudy's locked up for a few more years. David Njoku's locked up for a few more years. They're going to get another running back in there. If not, they've still got Jerome Ford. We got to get the offensive line healthy, whatever that looks like. And I think that that's an environment to where everything's ready-made for him to come in and compete with, at bare minimum, compete with the Steelers and just not be a bottom dweller and end up with a second overall pick again. From a fantasy perspective, everything's there for him to have success. Obviously, the ideal landing spot for any one of these quarterbacks is Minnesota. But like I said, I think that they should just go ahead and re-roll with J.J. McCarthy. So, for me, for Rodgers, it's Cleveland.
Yeah, that could make some sense. Cleveland, I mentioned Sam Darnold. It doesn't really make sense for Sam to go there because they don't have any money. What they need to do is make sure that they're drafting Cam Ward, reset their books, and try to get some quarterback money off there after a few years. And that makes the most sense. But fit-wise, if Aaron Rodgers was like, hey, I'll go there and play for cheap, I think that could be a good fit. Pittsburgh obviously seems like it could be, but as far as the place and their temperament and how Pittsburgh is, it doesn't seem like they would really vibe.
It got loud. You're talking about a vibe mismatch. You're talking about this dude coming in, flip flops, board shorts, sandals, and there's a guy who's been working in the steel mill since like 3 a.m. trying to pay money to go watch the game. Like, that's just not going to line up with Pittsburgh. I would love for one season of Aaron Rodgers and George Pickens. I would love that. I love George Pickens almost as much as I love my only son. Okay, but I can't see that matching up at all, not even if there was a fire.
Yeah, I agree. The only other quick comment here would be Niners don't play Brock. He goes back to the Bay and plays for the San Francisco 49ers for a year or two. I think that's a problem. I think they should pay Brock. I'm a Brock fan. I like Brock. I think Brock's great. But any bold predictions that maybe takes place? Is there even a chance that takes place?
Oh man. Like, what? So you're the Brock guy. Rick's the Brock guy.
I was about to say,
I don't not love Brock, but this would be this. I don't understand how they evaluate the quarterback position if that's a decision that they make. Like, you avoided total disaster with this Trey Lance pick, and then you're gonna, like, the prodigal son, the guy you took in the 7th round that panned out, that's been better than anything you could have ever imagined. You're gonna let him walk out the door? Like, I can't bring myself to think that John Lynch, Football Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame, John Lynch would allow himself to go back into the dregs, go back into the gulag, and try to re-roll for a quarterback in 2026 or whatever by taking Aaron Rodgers for a year, bring the Bay kid back home, whatever. No, thank you.
Rick?
Yeah, if you would have to understand how much I love Brock Purdy to know how much that possibility angers me. Like, if a player, because like I don't know what it is. I've had Aaron Rodgers on a lot of dynasty teams. I've had Aaron Rodgers on a lot of redraft teams. I have done a ton of DFS with Aaron Rodgers. I'm pretty much, as far as like looking at the numbers and when he is good, when he is not, like being able to analyze that, I'm Aaron Rodgers agnostic. However, I'm able to separate that from just not liking the person and the personality. And if a person that I disliked as much as Aaron Rodgers took the job of the dude and the quarterback that I liked as much as I like Brock Purdy, I might quit the NFL. Like, this is that scenario is ridiculous. That's like I don't know, somebody trading Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic. Like, what in the world are you doing? You're getting a walking hospital bill and you're giving away the future of your franchise. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So, that would be what I thought about that.
I agree. All right. So what are the Jets doing at quarterback? We got Daniel Jones. We got Russell Wilson. We got a bunch of other backups, right? We have, guys like Mac Jones. We have Jameis mentioned. We got Mason Rudolph, Jimmy G, Joe Milton, maybe possible trade.
Don't you touch my Joe Milton.
So what do we think that the possibilities are for the New York Jets? Because they're sitting out of contention to be able to get a quarterback. They wait till the 2nd round and draft like a Dart or a Ewers or somebody else there. How are the Jets handling their QB situation, Rick?
The Jets are going to do what the Jets have always done, and that is try to fix all their deficiencies in one offseason. And to my knowledge, all but the top 3 teams of the league can't do that. Hey, New York Jets, you are not a top 3 team in the league. You have got a morale problem. Your defense quit the second half of the season. You've got a Breece Hall problem that you need to figure out. Whether that was an offensive line issue, whether that was a passing game issue, whatever was wrong with Breece Hall the second half of the season, you have to figure that out. I don't know if that's drafting a second running back. This is a super strong draft class for that. I would not recommend
drafted
it.
17 of them.
Exactly. And they haven't, and Breece Hall was the best one at RB20 on the year. Is that correct, Justin? Was it RB20?
Yeah, I think it was 16, but
16.
yeah,
okay. And Did he play 16 games, 17 games? Yeah. And I think Breece Hall is fantastic, but something is wrong there. I think that's an offensive line problem. I think that's an offensive scheme problem. And those are bigger problems that you're going to have to fix incrementally over the course of 2 or 3 years. If you're not in a position to get the quarterback right now, I think you're better trading out of the first round. And hey, guys, this is going to be a rebuilding year. No NFL franchise, no NFL locker room wants to hear that. I think that I was surprised they told Aaron Rodgers, like they gave Aaron Rodgers walking papers, honestly. Like, why would you not bring back an obvious bridge quarterback until you can draft the guy that's actually going to be your franchise quarterback for the next 5 to 6 years? Or why I don't, that's the kind of quarterback I see landing there. If it's Russ, Jimmy G, Lord help him if that ends up being him, but that he's just a sacrificial lamb at that point. He's not good enough to make any kind of lemonade out of those lemons. So, I see a bridge quarterback landing there. I just throw Russ as a placeholder.
What you think, Chev?
All right, boys. Let the legendary ball knower cook here. So, hear me out. Matthew Stafford doesn't have a lot of guaranteed money in 2025 and 2026. Just hear me out. Let me cook. Let me cook here. So, he doesn't have a lot of money. He's 37 years old. The Rams fans and the front office are tired of his wife's shit. Okay? They don't figure out the extension. They don't get that worked out. The Jets are like, hey, what do you want for Matthew Stafford, man? Like, he's 37 years old. I mean, what do you want? What do you guys want for him? And they're like, we'll take give us your second round pick. And they're like, no, absolutely not. And then they come and they're like, okay, what about our third round pick and then another third round pick in 2026? And they're like, deal. And he ends up, and Stafford goes there. He does what he does. He hyper targets his alpha receiver in Garrett Wilson. We get the dream season from Garrett Wilson that we thought that we were going to get last year. We get that this year. Stafford signs like a 2 or 3 year extension worth like $40 million a year, and they still win like 7 games. And the Jets are going to jet, but we at least get one prime alpha season out of Garrett Wilson with this.
Well, that was certainly bold and spicy. I think it's somebody. I think it's somebody like Jameis or Mac Jones or even Trey Lance, and bring somebody in and say, "Hey, we're gonna roll with this guy, Mason Rudolph." It's one of those, any of those guys that I mentioned. I don't think it's Russ, but it certainly could be. I don't think Russ is a starter next year. I think everybody's had enough Russ.
I hope not. Get him out of here.
I hate him so much. He's the worst.
Thank you. God, I hate him last year, and Justin's like 28 touchdowns. 28 touchdowns. 28 touchdowns.
There is no way one single brother in that locker room respects anything that comes out of Russell Wilson's mouth. He's the fakest fucking dude available.
He's so goofy.
Listen, guys. I don't really care for Russ either, but for fantasy, he was going to deliver me to the promised land with George Pickens. Except the refs, big officiating stepped in, and the conspiracy, the fix was in, and we couldn't get the full Pickens experience. But it was cool for like 3 weeks. I saw what was possible.
It was. Yeah, so I would like Jameis, Mac Jones, or Trey Lance to go over to New York and just give you a year, see if you can get anything going, and then try to get as high a pick as you can.
Yes, that's why. Like I said, Russ, any of those guys, sure. Like it's going to be ex-bridge quarterback for 1 year, and then hopefully next year's draft class is an as good of a quarterback class.
I think the most Jets thing ever would be taking Jackson Dart at like 11 or wherever they're picking. Yes. I don't know, what is this, 8, 7?
Just punish your fan 15. Base with your faith in Jackson Dart. That's what I want.
I bet with Justin right now that Dart's going to be a top 15 pick just because
JETS
so many teams are stupid. The Jets fit the stupid team narrative. But sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
And maybe Jackson Dart will be great. He will not be great if he goes to the Jets.
that is as verifiable of a fact. Like, you could stamp that shit right now today. If he goes to the Jets, he will absolutely be dog shit.
Sign it in blood.
All right, let's hit one more, and then we'll switch over and go to a little bit more of a cost of these kind of things. Let's see. Daniel Jones seems to be like, it seems like the Steelers are. It just seems like it's kind of bubbling right now. Daniel Jones, Steelers. You got the gold and black on, or the yellow and black rather. How you feeling about Daniel Jones? Where's he going?
To the Steelers? Oh my God! Look,
I think I got a little more respect for Daniel Jones than you guys do. I think he could be just fine.
Oh no! You've got the wrong guys on this show, man.
Yeah, no.
Not that I think he's going to be awesome, but I think there's some legs there. I think he could play some decent football. I don't think he's horrible, but you just spent however long telling me how inept the Giants are.
Yeah. All right. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. I'll go first.
Can be true.
Yeah. I'll go first, and then I'll tag you in.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
There's nobody I want to see on the Steelers less than Daniel Jones. The ideal landing spot is for them, the Vikings, to just sympathy sign him and keep him in the building so he can learn from the quarterback whisperer and figure out how to become a professional, how to lead a locker room, how to be a pro, right? And I just don't think that his confidence has taken such a hit.
Yes.
That, there's no way he goes into a locker room and he's starting in 2025. I just can't see it. I think that he needs to go somewhere. He needs to get with a Kevin O'Connell. He needs to get with a Kyle Shanahan, who did wonders for – nobody talks about that. But before Sam Darnold landed with KOC, he was with Kyle Shanahan.
They tried to keep him.
Yeah.
I mentioned it. I said he was with two quarterback whisperers.
Yeah. You did. Touche. But he needs to go into an environment like that and just figure out what the ins and outs, like what it looks like to be able to dissect the defense, understanding a defense on a cellular level. I think he just needs to go somewhere and be a competent backup for a year or two, and then pop back out potentially and do some things. He has all the physical tools. He's 6'5". He can run good sometimes when he doesn't trip over his own feet. And, it just, he might throw the ball well at times. Like, I'm trying to find some common ground here. We are not Daniel Jones people, I'm not trying
to say I'm a huge Daniel Jones guy either, but I think fantasy wise and NFL wise, I think you're correct in saying that the best thing for him is to come in here, take a few $1 million, back up JJ McCarthy, and stay in this organization. I think that's for sure the best thing. I just was saying that there seems to be some chatter of maybe the Steelers being interested in Daniel Jones and pairing him up with Arthur Smith.
Ooh, Rick, it's on you.
Yeah, we're 3 for 3 actually. My ideal landing spot for Daniel Jones is to go back to the Vikings as a backup. We're 2 for 2 with quarterbacks getting with quarterback whisperers and then having successful either seasons or output after they leave those quarterback whisperers, or with them. Yes, after they leave would fit the argument. And the two examples that I have are Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold played a season.
Geno Smith. Geno Smith got touched by Canales too.
Most of that argument was like quarterbacks with draft capital, and wasn't Geno Smith a second round draft pick?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
And given the last 2 seasons of Geno, I'm not. Sure. Dave Canales, it helped. It helped quite a bit. But Baker and Sam, they both had what looked like the end of their careers 3 years ago. Oddly enough, on the same team, and then. Sam goes the way to San Francisco as a backup. Baker goes to the Rams for the rest of the year, and then to the Bucs with Dave Canales. Dave Canales leaves, and I'll be the first to say, when Dave Canales left, I was like, well, it was a fun ride. Baker, as a fantasy option was pretty cool, but I don't think anybody projected 4,441. I don't think anybody projected for Sam Darnold 4,335, no matter what quarterback whisperer he was with. So I think that taking a year out of the starting seat with someone who knows how to develop quarterbacks. Wasn't Kevin O'Connell a former quarterback?
Yeah.
Am I correct in that? Yes, with the Pats. So I think that another year with Kevin O'Connell does nothing but great things for Daniel Jones. And I'm a little more on your side, Casey. Like, I see the physical tools. He is very, like, I think that he was top 3 in clock speeds the year that he tripped over his shoelaces, only topped by Tyreek Hill and Raheem Mostert. So like, the dude has legs, and not just legs. The dude has like Justin Fields rush ability. And, all we think about is him getting his shoelaces tied together. So we think he's a goofy guy. No, he's a legitimate athlete. He has a rocket for an arm. It's just, sometimes he throws it in the stands. Sometimes he throws it to the team. Sometimes he actually throws it to his team. So, I think that another year with Kevin O'Connell fixes that. But yeah, that's my ideal landing spot for Daniel Jones this year. If I've got him on a dynasty, I'm praying he stays with the Vikings. If he takes some starter money at because the only team that's going to be taking him is a team that needs a bridge quarterback, that it obviously needs one for a reason. No great teams need a bridge quarterback right now. So he would be going to a failing situation that I don't think would help his career.
Yeah, no, I like it. And before we switch over to the buy, sell, hold portion of this show, I want to pitch one more thing to you guys here. Some rumblings about maybe Geno and the Seahawks maybe wanting to do something different. Now, Big D, our resident Seahawk guy, says they think Geno is going to just probably stay the course and be there for another year or two and then figure it out. But what if they said, we're going to shit Geno out the door and we're going to bring Sam Darnold in? How do you feel about the Seahawks and Sam Darnold? Full circle on the show to end it. Rick, what you thinking there?
You immediately have 3 options that are going to be ones at the position or borderline ones. I think Ken Walker immediately becomes on a per game basis, because his health has been a question. On a per game basis, he's a 1, which I believe he was last year. He was his rookie year. If you take away the first 4 games when Rashad Penny was crazily still taking work from him. Jackson Smith and Jigba showed that with volume, he's a 1. Just give him the ball and don't utilize him as slant daddy. All right. And then DK Metcalf, just kind of throw it in his area sometimes, and he's going to do some cool stuff. And Sam Darnold is a good enough quarterback to do that enough times a game to make him relevant for fantasy. Those 3 guys all being borderline 1s, or in my opinion for JSN and Ken Walker, actual 1s, like strong 1s at the position. I think that would mean great things for Sam Darnold. Probably a back end QB1 season for him, QB 10 to 12, in my opinion.
Yeah. What do you think, Chev?
I think that, Geno's on the last year of his deal in the extension that he signed after the magical season in 2022. So this is the last year of that deal, right? And I think that the problem that you've seen is their offensive line has just been so piss poor. Yeah. So with Kubiak,
with a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
They have 2 good tackles. They just can't stay healthy.
But they can't stay healthy. They can't play. And that results in getting just all-time great memes like Geno Smith screaming for his life with Aaron Donald bearing down on him.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Just scared shitless. And so if Darnold goes there and they fix the offensive line, and you have Clint Kubiak, who's known for taking the vertical shots downfield, you would then upgrade that situation he had in New Orleans to Rashid Shaheed being DK Metcalf, and then Chris Olave is now JSN eating over the middle, and you got Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet playing the big back Kubiak back role, split whatever that looks like. And I think that could be a recipe for success big time if they can just get the offensive line to a point where they're not just a sieve and getting violated on a down in, down out basis and making the offense almost impossible to function.
Truly, the one thing that we have seen that's been consistent from Sam Darnold throughout his career is when he is consistently pressured throughout a game, he's terrible.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, yeah, most quarterbacks are.
Sure.
The vast majority of quarterbacks aren't as bad as he is when he consistently sees pressure. Most quarterbacks will eventually develop some kind of internal clock and be like, you know what? I can't hold it this long. This needs to get out of bounds or in the dirt. And he is willing to take 8 sacks in a playoff game or 9 sacks.
They did say that there's, some of that was on KOC because they never changed the play calling to give him some more quicker options where it is some longer developing things, and their line did end up getting a little banged up. So, but I feel you.
There was more than one instance, though. Not trying to argue with you, but there was more than one instance where it wasn't the protection. The protection was good, and he
100%.
backed into his own line, and he started seeing ghosts again.
I think it's also that he had got some confidence. The confidence, it's easy to break the confidence again. I think if he was settled in somewhere for a longer term, maybe he feels a little more confident in the fact that, hey, I could dirt a ball, I could eat a ball, I can sack it, throw it away. I don't know. It just seems like, but I mostly agree with you. You got to be better under pressure. I just don't know how long he was in a terrible situation and now he's in a good situation. And I feel like there were really a few times last year where it really came to roost, and then everybody was just like, yeah, see, he sucks. And I'm not saying that's what you're saying. We all said that we like Sam and think Sam could be a good quarterback.
What's wild is I've just various interactions. I've made friends with some diehard Vikings fans, and just kind of mildly polling them to a person, all of them detest Sam Darnold and want him out of town for some reason. Wow. I'm like, well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, what are you doing? But yeah, sorry, just want to throw that caveat in there.
They can't have nice things. Real quick, right before we wrap this up, where's Cam Ward going, Rick?
I have him going to the Giants.
Chev, where's Cam Ward going?
Oh, why'd you have to ask me this? I've been watching Cam Ward propaganda all day. I've been team Travis Hunter no matter what. I'm going to say he's going to the Browns.
Yeah. I want him to go to the Browns. I think it's a great fit. I'm going to say Browns too. All right. Shador Sanders. Where's he going, Chev?
If he doesn't go to the Browns or the Giants, I mean, he's probably going to go to the Raiders.
Rick?
Raiders.
I think it's the G-men. I think Giants, Shador.
That top 3 pick.
Those are the top. Those are the both of those guys go top 3. I don't think the Titans should take either one of them.
Agreed.
I think the Titans.
I would rather not, just because of the way that we've historically fucked up quarterbacks. And I really like both of the guys, so I just don't want to see them suffer through what the organizational ineptitude that is the Tennessee Titans when it comes to quarterbacks and stuff.
Run it back with Levis.
No.
We need more memes.
I'll start a podcast about North Korean basketball, and you'll never hear from me again.
All right, let's take it on over to the buy, sell, hold portion of the show.